But do you know what? They didn't know how to respond.
Yeah, I don't think they were
That was just
expecting her to
awkward.
do that, number one.
Yeah.
And I think because she is a woman, they felt like they should do something to comfort her as two men.
Well, they're on TV. That's
Yeah.
what's seen as the right thing to do, isn't it?
So instead of just kind of ignoring her stupid outburst, it would have seemed... Sorry, I didn't mean that in a rude way. But it would have seemed wrong to not do something.
Hey family, welcome back to our channel, and for anyone who may be watching for the first time, we are Velvet Devotion, aka Mr. and Mrs. B. We're Christian worship leaders here in our home church in London, and this channel is all about encouraging artists and helping them to understand the struggles they may come up against due to their creativity. Mrs. B, what are we talking about today?
So, we're going to be talking about Katy Perry, as she had a little bit of a meltdown on American Idol. And essentially, I think she meant well, but people are thinking that she may be a narcissist. And we just wanted to talk about this because it's actually interesting how many times we incur the word narcissist and artist together. The words narcissist and artist together. So yeah, we're going to see how this goes.
But just before we get into the video, we just want to say a really big thank you to everyone who subscribed from our last video. It did a lot better than we were expecting, but it really just goes to show that, you know, the things that we're discussing, people are really interested. So guys, please continue to leave comments. Please continue to share our content and keep letting us know what you're interested in, because it really helps us to shape the content that we create as we go forward. So let's get into the video.
Be that as it may, it was back in the cultural conversation ever so briefly this week, but not for anything related to music or singing. Instead, it was the story of one contestant, and more specifically, a judge's reaction to that story that had people talking. Watch.
In May 2018, a gunman walked into my school. I was in art room 1. He shot up art room 2 before he made his way to art room 1. Lost a lot of friends. Eight students were killed. 2 teachers were killed. And it's just really been negative, man. Santa Fe's had a bad rap here since 2018.
Okay.
What you doing, Katy?
Our country has failed us.
Facts.
This is not okay. You should be singing here because you love music,
It's true.
not because you have to go through that.
I agree.
Okay then.
You have to lose 8 friends. I hope that you remind people that we have to change. Because, you know, I sing too.
It's terrible, Katy. It's horrible.
We cannot ignore the incredible narcissism on display here by her. Perry has apparently attended the same training seminars alongside Giselle Fetterman to learn how to make other people's traumas about yourself. He is calmly recounting his own horrific experience, and Perry uses it as a platform to put on this over-the-top emotional performance. She even relates it back to herself somehow. I'm scared too, she says, as her fellow judges comfort her. They start patting her on the back and comforting her while the kid who was actually in the shooting stands there and watches.
Okay, I don't know if I should laugh at this or not, but what was that? What was that? Like, okay. That seemed like the most forced thing I've ever seen. I'm not gonna lie.
This is you seeing it for the first... Because I've seen it already.
Yeah, I've not seen that. That was embarrassing. I felt embarrassed for Katy Perry, like, I'm not gonna lie.
Secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah, like, it was just so cringy. You know, you could tell that the kid was like, he was trying to hold it together, and you know, to me, it seemed like he had difficulty dealing with your emotion, which going through something like that, yeah, you would have difficulty. But then, why did she break down like that? Like, I'm so confused. And then Lionel Richie's there shedding a tear and patting Katy Perry on the back. And I'm just like, what? I think what this guy is saying about her being a narcissist, I can see why that conclusion has come about. Because that's not normal, man. That's not normal for you to just start. I really don't know if I should be laughing, but anyway.
It feels awkward to laugh because it was such a tender moment. And then she just burst out into tears. And the guy's right. She made the moment about herself. It should have been a moment for them to just sit there in silence and for them to like just listen to what the guy had to say and then to let him do his audition.
Yeah.
But it's like...
She couldn't even give him like 2 minutes.
It's like she stole his thunder and then had this moment. And here's the thing. I don't know anything about Katy Perry at all. But I feel like maybe her emotion may have been genuine. I mean, a lot of people have said that they don't think it was genuine just because they usually know about these things before the contestants actually come on the show.
Oh, snap.
So, but I don't see the reason why you would force this unless you are a narcissist. Either way, this is what artists kind of are afflicted with oftentimes when they have selfish tendencies. And again, not saying that wasn't a genuine reaction, not saying that Katy Perry has selfish tendencies, but I think when you're a creative person, it is kind of a natural thing for you to like attention in certain situations.
Yeah. And
it's all, to be fair to her, it's also a natural thing, I think, for you to have quite drastic reactions to situations, because artistic people, regardless of what your art is, they tend to be very overly dramatic in a lot of situations
and emotional, just
and emotional. So
that was something else, man.
That
was something else.
It really was. Let's hear what the rest of he has to say, and then we'll add more comment.
Okay.
Here's a hint. If someone is telling you about something awful that happened to them, your response should not contain the words I or me, unless you're saying something like, I'm so sorry, or I'm here for you.
Yeah.
But if you're attempting to put yourself at the center of this person's suffering or deflect from it so that the focus is on you and your own emotions, then you are a classic narcissist. And maybe worst of all, you're creating an incredibly awkward situation for everyone else who has to be in the room with your lack of self-awareness. I can only imagine how uncomfortable it must have been for that young man to be standing there, not sure what to say or how to respond as Katy Perry launches into her camera-ready monologue like she's auditioning for a soap opera. A monologue that was planned, by the way, considering that the judges would have known ahead of time that a contestant was coming up who'd been in a mass shooting. That fact was certainly conveyed to Katy Perry and her cohorts by the producers before the kid got up on the stage. She didn't, burst into tears spontaneously. She had all this planned in her head ahead of time. And I understand that this is a very cynical interpretation of events, but I've been around long enough and I've been in media long enough and I've met enough of these sorts of people to justify my cynicism.
As we can see, that was a very drastic reaction. And the young man who actually went through the shooting was completely calm. He got a little bit emotional at first, but he was completely calm. And I think this is a good example of how you can actually choose as an artist not to be a victim. And it's interesting because one of the calling cards of narcissism is victim mentality. And I think not only is it apparent that a lot of artists and creative people can tend to form a sense of victim mentality and kind of form their entire identity around victimhood, but they can actually inflict that upon other people as well. And so, again, I'm not saying this is exactly what Katy Perry is doing here, but I do find it interesting that this young man who literally lived through this shooting was able to compose himself more than she was. And it did feel like a forced situation. It did feel like she was really just trying to, express whatever agenda that she had. But thinking about how this can help us now as creative people, as artistic people, there is a point where you need to take accountability for your emotions and your behavior in every situation. Like, this young man really has clearly chosen the fact that he's come onto American Idol. He's chosen not to live his life being bitter.
Yeah.
Instead of choosing to become better in a situation, they become bitter, and then they blame other people for why their life has been ruined. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be because it's a major thing like a shooting. It can literally be, oh, they weren't listening to me, so I'm going to quit my choir. Oh, you know, my boss wasn't letting me do this, that, and the other, and that's why I'm always late for work. It's literally anything. And I think this is something that we need to really consider and think about as people, and specifically as artists, knowing that we have the tendency to be quite emotional, and knowing that we have the tendency to really sometimes overreact in situations. It's probably a good thing to think first before you speak. The Bible says, be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. And I think in this situation, Katy Perry was quick to speak and really didn't listen to the young man talk about how he had managed to overcome his situation and end up at American Idol.
It's like she didn't think, and she didn't go through all what was happening. She didn't process properly, and she allowed her emotion to overcome. Now, if what this guy is saying, and you know, there are things where, you know, they plan stuff out beforehand, maybe she did think about it. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, that's something where you have a certain level of control over. You don't have to do that. Do you see what I'm saying? And this guy comes on, you know, you literally have taken away, like, he was getting emotional, and then you stole it, like cut his emotion down. And yeah, he was holding it back himself, but that's one surefire way to stop someone being emotional. I had it one time, actually. I'll have a personal example.
I was thinking about this.
Yeah, I have a personal example. I won't go into too much details, but a family member of mine, there was a time when I was younger and I was upset about something, and I felt like breaking down and crying, and then I was speaking to them and I said something about what I was feeling, and then they said, and you see, if only this person had done this, then you wouldn't be feeling this way. And immediately I wasn't sad anymore, because it was like, oh, so this is about you now? Oh, okay. And there is something about when you become overwhelmed with emotion, there is a part of you that is, you know, your everything in your mind is coming to a head, so you're thinking about it, and it's going around and around and around and around until you explode with emotion. And yeah, that's one sure way to stop that, is for someone else to come in and go, well, yeah, I had a situation where and then it's like, oh, okay, and it's like you don't actually get to express that thing properly. And so this young guy probably came on the show thinking, yeah, I'm going to talk about this, but I don't want to get emotional about it. And I want it because he was probably going to use that to fuel the passion in his singing as well. Now, I haven't seen the rest of the performance. Maybe it still went okay. But the point is that that's really selfish for you to do that. It's when someone is, you know, clearly emotional about something, they're telling you something really deep, you have to give them the space to express themselves. It's really not fair for you to just interrupt them and cut them down, because that's how people become damaged emotionally, mentally. Like, they don't get to express themselves, and that causes problems later on down the line. And specifically for guys, a lot of guys don't feel they can do that. And so when you do that to a guy, he just continues to, you know, block it in and push it down and push it down and push it down. So yeah,
what was sad as well is that they really did pat Katy Perry on the back and
like,
just stand there and stare at the guy who
That
actually
was
went
crazy.
through the shooting. And it's like, there is a point.
But you know what? They didn't know how to respond.
Yeah, I don't think they were
That was just
expecting her to
awkward.
do that, number one.
Yeah.
And I think because she is a woman, they felt like they should do something to comfort her as two men.
Well, they're on
you know?
TV. That's
Yeah.
what's seen as the right thing to do, isn't it?
So instead of just kind of ignoring her stupid outburst, it would have seemed... Sorry, I didn't mean that in a rude way. But it would have seemed wrong to not do something, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the moral of the story here is, I think we as artists, as creative people, we need to actually use wisdom in these situations. We need to give other people the opportunity to speak, to express themselves. Yes, we are designed for creativity and expression, but this young man is clearly also an artist. I actually did manage to see his performance afterwards, and he has an amazing voice.
Right.
So
I'll watch it as well.
she kind of took away from that moment, if you see what I mean, because instead of it being about him and his amazing voice, it then became about Katy Perry and her amazing theatrics. So yeah. I think we just need to really understand wisdom, understand that everything is not all about you, and understand that this can, like, even though this happened on TV, in real time, this can actually hurt people. So for example, in Mr. B's situation, instead of him crying and getting out his emotion and getting out what he wanted to get out, the other person ended up crying, making it all about them, and just really completely ignoring how he was feeling. So this is not something we want to do. We are supposed to be people who love and care about others. We're supposed to be people who show respect and help to make things better, not make things worse.
So yeah, guys, I hope we can all take away something from this situation here. Hopefully some positive things and what not to do's. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like, please leave a comment, please share the video and hit the notification bell, because we're going to be posting a lot more and we're going to be keeping our content up to date. So give us some support if you can, give us some love. Thank you for all the love and support we've had so far from everyone that's subscribed. Welcome to all of you new subscribers, and yeah, welcome to the family. We're going to keep going. So peace, guys. Have a lovely day. Bye.